Hi, I'm Paul Edwards, author of the Mourners Woods books, and first and foremost, a monster kid. Tonight, I'm watching A Quiet Place, Day 1 from 2024. They did this one right. The original Quiet Place movie was a great monster movie. It showed life in a world where alien monsters have invaded the earth and they're blind, but they have exceptional hearing. So you can walk around and do whatever you want as long as you don't make any noise. But as soon as you make even a mild noise, the monsters will hear you and rush in and come gobble you up. So, the premise of the film is a really good premise because it shows us characters that are right there next to a monster in some cases, and the monster has no idea that they're there because the monsters are blind. But if any character makes a noise, they've had it. So the story basically writes itself. It's an excellent premise. In the second film, unfortunately, they took a serious misstep. They tried to show us the life of the characters who had survived from the first film and show what they did next during this alien invasion. Who cares? Nobody is watching a movie like this because they love these characters. It's a monster movie. We're watching it for the monsters. More on that in a minute. In this film, A Quiet Place Day 1, we're given a prequel with completely different characters, thank goodness. This movie shows us what happens when a young hospice patient, a young woman named Sam, is taking a day trip into the city to see a matinee show along with the other patients from hospice. And this is when the monster invasion occurs. New York City is decimated by these creatures that are running around the streets, gobbling everybody up. And it becomes clear pretty quickly that sound is what attracts them. And so we're shown, the film is subtitled Day 1, but we're actually shown several days in the life of Sam and the people she comes into contact with as she tries to navigate this apocalypse of noise-based monsters. At first, I started to worry about the premise of this film because they showed us that Sam was a hospice patient, and I was worried that they were going to try to make too much of a drama out of this. But it turns out there was a solid plot-based reason why they had her be a hospice patient. She's perfectly able-bodied. She just doesn't have long to live. And the reason that that matters to the plot is that her goal in this misadventure is not to survive it like everybody else's goal is to survive it, because she knows her death is imminent anyway. Her goal is to recapture a favorite childhood memory by getting a slice of New York pizza from a real New York City pizzeria, because she used to do this with her father, back when she was a little girl. So they did not make the mistake of trying to plumb the depths of the character's soul in the middle of a monster movie, which is very refreshing. They did everything, I think, by the numbers in a good way in this film. This premise is such a good monster premise that it really writes itself. These scenes write themselves. The fact that the monster can be right next to you, but as long as you're quiet, it's not going to get you. You don't have to do a whole lot of brain work to come up with a good way to execute scenes with a lot of tension in them in this scenario. I wish I'd thought of it, frankly. The second film, I think their real mistake was that they thought the audience would care about the characters from the first film, and we don't. We don't. It's not that kind of a movie. One of the most common mistakes that I see in horror fiction in general is that a lot of writers seem to think that they have to write a story that touches people's hearts, like it's, dramatic literature. But Orson Welles himself, when he was describing the Shadow radio show that he did for years, he had a great quote. I'll paraphrase it for you. he said, not every story is meant to touch your heart. Some stories are meant to send chills down your spine. If you're making a monster movie, you don't have to have, gripping human drama in it. You really don't. If you can do it well, okay, fine. But don't let that distract you from what you're supposed to be doing, which is making an entertaining monster movie. If you can also put in, a sophisticated drama, great. Knock yourself out. But keep your eyes on the prize. You're supposed to be making a monster story. Quiet Place Day One does this excellently. Unlike A Quiet Place Part 2, where they got sidetracked. If they make another entry in this series, I really, really hope that they stick to the formula. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Stick to the formula that the first one executed so well. And, audiences will want more of this. We don't need to follow the same character. This bothers me also in the monster verse, the modern American Godzilla and King Kong movies, where they keep trying to have characters that continue from one movie to the next. We don't need that. Nobody needs that. We need monster characters that continue from one movie to the next, for sure. But we don't need human characters that carry over from the last movie. Who cares? Nobody is here for that. In my own books, the Mourners Woods books, I do try to keep it simple, stupid, and I do try to keep my eyes on the prize and be aware that what I'm trying to tell is not, the new great American novel. What I'm trying to tell is a monster story that makes you feel like you've just finished going through the haunted house at a carnival and you want to buy another ticket and go back through again. You have to keep your eyes on what it is that you're trying to execute. In my books, I know enough to stay in my lane. And I wish that all horror creators would do the same. It's interesting because the audience will sometimes think of their own deeper meanings to your works. I've had people who have read one of my books come up to me and say, well, I thought this was really, really deep. I mean, you had this which symbolized this and this which symbolized that. This was specifically in reference to Mourner's Cliff. And I'm like, I didn't think that at all when I was writing it. If you found a meaning in there, that's great. I'm all for it. I'm not going to take that away from you. For you, that's what this story means. That's fine if there's a deeper meaning to it. But that's not what I wrote. I just wrote a monster story. Listen, if you're a fan of classic monsters and vintage horror, you should check out my books, the Mourners Woods books. Hike for an hour across Dread Meadow and you'll reach Mourners Woods. Here you'll find horrors, monsters, ghosts, banshees. But the most dangerous threat will always be the friend who hiked here with you. My name again is Paul Edwards. My books for sale on Amazon are the Mourners Woods books. Thanks for letting me talk to you about A Quiet Place, Day One. I'll meet you in Mourners Woods.